It's another Football Friday on News OK Live. I'm Mike Sherman, sports editor of the Oklahoman, joined by my Football Friday gang, starting from his home in Norman, OU writer Jason Kersey.
What's up?
Hey, Jason. Hey, from somewhere, where are you at? Our OSU writer, Kyle Fredrickson. Where are you, Kyle?
From my home and right outside downtown.
From Norman, Oklahoma, where tomorrow he'll cover the OU West Virginia game, columnist Barry Trammell. And from somewhere in Oklahoma City, I believe her home, where she will not be tomorrow. Instead, she'll be in Stillwater covering the OSU-Kansas State game, columnist Jenny Carlson.
If only they could come and play at like Taft. That's right down the street from me. It'd be great.
I'll ask Barry here in a minute if that's ever been done for the Cowboys. I'm not sure. It'd be interesting to know. Guys, let's start with upset alert. Kyle, who you got on a bigger upset alert tomorrow, the Cowboys or the Sooners?
Oh, I'd probably put it on the Sooners, and I don't know if you want to look at this variable. I think Vegas probably agrees. Just looking at where these lines started and where they've gone since, OSU opened as a 3-point favorite against the Wildcats. OU opened as a 9-point favorite against West Virginia. And the lines have switched. OU was dropped to a 6.5-point favorite, as where OSU was jumped to a 7.5-point favorite. So take that for what you will, but I think that's kind of a sign where the money is going for what people think about these games. And that's a bit of a reflection of where both of these teams are at and who they're playing. So, West Virginia comes in hot after that blowout win against, Maryland. Who knows how good they actually are? OSU barely beats Texas and Austin. Just the momentum of each program seems to be headed at least slightly in the different direction if we're really putting it under a microscope. I think that gives the West Virginia Mountaineers just a little bit better of a chance to maybe pull off a road upset on Saturday.
It pains me to say this, Barry, but for crying out loud, all West Virginia last week did is beat Maryland. How do you account for maybe the higher state of alert in Norman?
Well, I think it's clearly because while West Virginia and Kansas State both are untested to some degree, West Virginia's tests, in my opinion, have been a little tougher than K-State's, and they've passed them much more significantly. K-State needed 3 overtimes to beat Louisiana Tech in Manhattan, and West Virginia's won in 3 routes. I think it's pretty clear that West Virginia is a better team right now than Kansas State. Much more potential in Morgantown this year. So I think the upset alert is much more in Norman just because of the caliber of the opponent.
Jenny, do you allow anything for just sort of the weirdness at the end of that Oklahoma State game? Not just at the end of it, but the second half after the Cowboys scored 21. I think they were up big and zooming. And all of a sudden, things started going wrong. Mason Rudolph's finger, the flip-flop of the quarterback, which well documented this week by the Oklahoma staff, including you. And then, just a weird, lucky finish for the Cowboys. And now they're playing a Kansas State team led by Bill Snyder. If you want to play a close game against Bill Snyder, if you want to play it close to the vest, you're in trouble. How does that factor in?
Well, I think you're right about how K-State is able to win close games. Now OSU's done pretty well against K-State in Stillwater, so I think that's something worth pointing out. What that means this time, I have no idea. But I think the thing about K-State, while I love Bill Snyder, I think he's done a fantastic job. Obviously, their offense just isn't very good. They've got a defense that looks solid. Again, they haven't played anybody. Talk about not having really much of a gauge on what kind of team this is. K-State really hasn't played anybody. So, how good that defense is exactly is really a question mark. But I think the OSU defense is going to have another big day. And the way that things did play out in Austin, while it was troubling the way that the offense played, and, I really think the coaches kind of lost their heads a little bit in the way that they put the quarterbacks in and out. Clearly something was wrong with Rudolph. He wasn't playing like he had obviously earlier in the game before he probably injured that hand. So I think the coaches were searching a little bit, lost their heads a little bit, and started to, put guys in basically one play. It was really confounding to watch. watch. But, by all accounts, Rudolph's hand going to be fine. He was at media availability on Monday. I have to think if there was any doubt of his health, he would not have been there. So I think he'll be fine, and I don't think they'll pull the yo-yo strings on the quarterbacks the same way again. I think that OSU's offense will be okay. It would be a good idea, though, for Mason Rudolph's mental state to get out there and have a good couple first drives in that game against K-State on Saturday.
Jason Kersey, real quick, who do you have on the higher upset alert?
Well, I think it's definitely OU. I mean, for the reasons everyone else has said. I mean, I just think West Virginia is a better team. The other thing is, I think in the past we would have said, OU wins at home under Bob Stoops, and that's a reason. But that's just not a reason anymore. OU doesn't have that same home field advantage that they once had. They lost 3 home games last year, which at one time would have been unthinkable. And so, to me, it's clearly OU on the higher upset alert.
So, Jason, we still have a lot to learn about these teams, but which of these 4 teams do we know the most about? Sooners have gone to Tennessee and won, yet they come home and have a disastrous stretch against Tulsa. The Cowboys have won on the road in Texas, yet they've had these other games that were just, fill in the score, 2 of the previous 3. Kansas State, of course, almost loses home at Louisiana Tech. And West Virginia, hate to say it, but they demolished a Maryland team that lost to Bowling Green. So who do we really know anything about?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a fair question. Tennessee, I don't think that win is proving to be nearly as good as a lot of people thought it was. I still think Tennessee's a team that could win the SEC East. If they start handling the end of games better, I think that they're still a talented enough team to go win the SEC East. But yeah, I mean, at this point in the season, you don't really know a whole lot about anybody, really.
Barry, which of these 4 do we actually know something about or know the most about?
Oh, sorry, I had myself muted. I think we know a little bit more about OSU right now than we do OU. And that's not necessarily a good thing for OSU, because what we know about these teams is not all that encouraging from where we thought they were in August. So maybe a little bit more room for OU to grow. The Cowboys have been on the road twice and came away with 2 wins. Road wins are always nice, but you would have liked a little bit more dominant performance at Central Michigan. You would have liked to have won the game in Austin on your own merits instead of the football gods just saying, you know what, let's shine on OSU today. So the Sooners, at least in Tennessee, sort of commandeered a victory of their own volition. So I'm less high on both of these teams than I was in August. But that doesn't mean they're sentenced to mediocre years. I mean, they could still both have excellent seasons. But it's when you reach October, it's time to get in gear.
The euphoria of the OU win at Tennessee faded right about at halftime against Tulsa. Jenny, which of these 4 teams do you think we know what they are?
Well, I'd probably agree with Barry in that I think we know a little bit more about OSU than OU, and frankly, I definitely think we know more about OSU than we do about K-State. West Virginia, they might be somewhere close. We might know more about them than OU and K-State, but yeah, I mean, I think that it's interesting, as we've talked about. I think what Barry said is right. I'm about where I was in the preseason with these 2 teams in terms of expectations of wins and those sorts of things. But I think maybe where the wins are coming and where the losses are coming may have shifted. You look at what's going on in the Big 12. It looks like West Virginia's a little bit better, or maybe a lot better than people expected. I think they were picked to finish 6th or 7th in the conference. I think they're way better than that. And clearly Texas Tech looks like more of a challenge than we thought they were going to be when the season started. And then on the flip side, TCU is struggling defensively, just not, they're losing guys to injury. Personnel is really a struggle for them right now. Baylor doesn't seem as good maybe as they were purported to be in the preseason. OSU has had their struggles, another team that's expected to be near the top. So I think that maybe, that how things are going to shake out and the games I sort of had in my head as losses and wins for OU and OSU. But I still think they're about on par of where they were in my mind in the preseason. But maybe some issues that I thought were going to be there have been replaced by other issues like, what's Ben Grogan going to do on any given day for OSU, which was not a concern at all in the preseason. Things like that I think have changed as we've gotten a chance to see these teams play to some extent.
Jason, the Oklahoma Sooners, of course, the euphoria we talked about, the Tennessee game is something would be talked about through the generations, right there with Uwe von Schamann. And then halftime against Tulsa approached, and then the second half approached where Tulsa's receivers are sort of running free, beating the Sooners secondary, and some of the old concerns arise. What can you say with certainty that you do know about these Sooners?
Well, I know Baker Mayfield's a lot of fun to watch. I know P. Ryan's a good running back. What I don't know is and I know that Sterling Shepard's a really good playmaking wide receiver, but really other than that, I mean, we don't know a whole lot. We don't know how good the defense is. We don't know how good the offensive line is. To this point, I would say the evidence suggests they're not very good. Which could be a problem for that running game with P. Ryan and them. And I don't know how good the rest of the wide receivers are. I mean, there are more of them involved this year than there were last year, but this is going to be a really good test for them. This West Virginia secondary is pretty good. It's a team strength. So, I think this game will really could have the potential to teach us a lot about this team.
Kyle, these next two questions really deal with us. Our expectations that we created, some ideas that we forwarded about these quarterbacks. Let's start with Mason Rudolph. Was he overhyped in the preseason?
Well, I think, of course, he was, but it's hard to blame us for doing it because let's think about how his career started. I mean, on your second ever start, you go into Bedlam and you win. Your third ever start, you win a bowl game, and then we've got this entire offseason to talk about what you've done. It was such a small sample size that, of course, we thought was what we were going to talk about, how great he had been and how he had revived this team. And, you got, pundits saying that he's the dark horse Heisman candidate and maybe OSU is a playoff team. So all those things kind of factor in to that overhyping. Now, is Rudolph still a great player? Absolutely. He's the guy that OSU fans should want to have at quarterback. They should feel very good about the team's future, but we got to remember the guy's 20 years old. He just made his 7th start of his college career, and he's still 6-1 as a starter. But this was really the first time in this last game that we saw where he struggled, and especially struggled late in the game. Even in some of his more shaky performances, we look back at the Baylor loss. He had a great second half. He was throwing some deep balls to James Washington, and the offense was clicking, and it was looking as it should, as opposed to what we saw on offense was just a run, punt, and really just hope the OSU defense, stands tall and gets the victory. And then obviously with the help of some Texas errors and Ben Grogan, they were able to make it happen. But certainly not a Heisman contender by any stretch of the imagination. Like I think Bleacher Report said he might be in the off season. But Cowboys fans still got to be pretty confident in the guy. I don't think there's any reason for concern to think that, Mason's not the kind of quarterback OSU wants running its offense. But I did think it was interesting, and listen to Mike Gundy at his press conference. He said over and over again, and more, in whatever form or whatever phrase he wants to use, that Rudolph needs to be a system quarterback. He needs to work within the system, make smart decisions, and not turn the ball over. He doesn't have to be a Brandon Weeden who's, making plays with his arm constantly and throwing deep balls all game and getting outside the system maybe at times and making plays. He just needs to stay within himself, take what the defense gives him. And if he doesn't turn the ball over, I think this Cowboys team likes its chances at potentially winning the Big 12 just based on everything that's also around him.
Kyle, I agree with you. But it's interesting watching that Texas game on TV, and you and Barry were there, so you can maybe direct me better. But until Rudolph got hurt and started to show signs of having some sort of struggle, I didn't see Texas stopping the passing game. I know Mike Gundy is insistent on establishing the run. He's done it against lesser opponents. I get that. But in conference play, I mean, Texas secondary is not great, but I don't know that maybe West Virginia's secondary is possibly the best in the league, but past that, you may not have great secondaries. I might try to throw the ball until somebody shows that they're able to stop it. I mean, there were guys breaking wide open everywhere, and Rudolph was finding a lot of them. Now, granted, he had those interceptions late. I don't know how much of that maybe was him getting out of the system or how much of that was him having the hand injury. But the way that they were meticulously just marching down the field, connecting on passes, that short and intermediate stuff, I've thought a lot this week about over the years, the Patriots and Belichick and Brady, whether it was Welker or Amendola or whoever they've had at receiver, sort of seeing those super short passes as almost like handoffs and running plays. I mean, why can't the Cowboys just adopt that sort of mentality? And until somebody stops them, just throw the ball on people.
I think that's a great question. It's interesting talking with Yurcich, at the media day, him saying that they felt like they were close to a breakthrough on the offensive line late in the game. Well, I don't know what game he was watching because they certainly didn't look like it up to that point. With Paul Lewis completely whiffing on one block and Mason Rudolph getting just smashed into the turf. You wonder at what point the Cowboys think, okay, we need to play to personnel and not play to scheme. We have all these athletic wide receivers. Marcel Aitman should be a stud in this conference. He's got the size and the frame, and Rudolph's got the arm, where he should be one of those guys that we talk about every week as a real difference on this team, but he just isn't there yet. And whether that's because he's maybe slipped back into some old practice habits, whether or not he's just not part of the game plan, who knows? But you're certainly right. I mean, it's a strange situation where they're so set on establishing that run when they have all this talent kind of waiting on the wings on the side. You sure think at some point they would just play to their personnel.
Maybe difficult to do that against Kansas State, which if it has a strength, it's stopping the run. Wildcats secondary may get tested on Saturday. Barry, the opposite quarterback, Baker Mayfield. Expectations for him not so high in the offseason, and they've soared since Tennessee. Has Baker Mayfield become overhyped?
Oh, probably, but that's no reflection on how he's played. I think quarterbacks tend to get overhyped. I think the alarming thing for me for Baker Mayfield is not Baker Mayfield, but the people around him. I'm still not a believer in the OU receivers. I think it's a Sterling Shepard and a cast of mediocrity. The offensive line has not performed well. The running holes are not there. The pass protection's not great. I mean, Baker Mayfield has proven he can run for his life, and that's the good thing because he's having to run for his life. So I can see the Sooners having some trouble offensively that's completely independent of Baker Mayfield. So I think he, to whatever hype we've seen out of him in recent weeks, he's sort of lived up to it. And he's not, I think quarterback was sort of a paramount problem coming into the season. I don't know that that's the number even in the top two problems or question marks of this OU offense.
Jason, the West Virginia defense is getting some good press for the way it's played. Do you think those problems are going to show up? The Mountaineers will exacerbate. The Mountaineers will create those kind of problems for Baker Mayfield on Saturday.
I definitely think they could. This is a good defense. Like I said earlier, I think that if they cover up those receivers and that's going to force the offensive line to block for longer, and I'm not sure that they can. So we probably will see a little bit of Baker Mayfield running for his life again, trying to find somebody who's open, and he can do that, and I think the fans enjoy watching him do that, and he can keep plays alive. But you don't want your quarterback having to do that very often. It's a nice thing that he can do it, but it's not something you really want him to do. And I think that, if he's having to do that too much, you could find themselves in trouble down the road.
Jenny, I was wondering, he showed up on these Heisman lists. We've kicked around the topic of writing about sort of how much of a Heisman Trophy candidate he is, but is this, sort of make something happen, do the opposite of what Gundy wants Mason Rudolph to do? Gundy wants him to take Gundy wants Rudolph to take what the defense has given him. It seems like the OU's strategy is for Mayfield to take all he can. Is that sustainable?
Well, I think that's a great question. I do worry about his sort of long-term health. We're only 3 games into this. To my knowledge, we haven't seen him take a real vicious shot yet. But, you talk about, guys like Manziel who run around and did that. Obviously, I think one of the things about Manziel that's still probably underappreciated is how he avoided injury. Whether that's just his body or good luck, I'm not sure. But that doesn't happen a lot. I think there's evidence of that in Trevor Knight and J.W. Walsh and on down the list of all these quarterbacks that we've seen. Robert Griffin III try to be the mobile zone read quarterback. It just seems like a matter of time before that comes back to bite you. So, clearly Mayfield has that sort of playmaker in him. That's just kind of something inherent, I think, that he's got. Just something that really says, do whatever you got to do to make a play. And I'm not sure you can coach that or teach that. I think that's just in some of these guys, and he clearly has that. So, I think he continues to do that. My question would be, you've got an offensive line that's still struggling. You've got wide receivers that may or may not be helping him when he is scrambling around. I think at some point you're fighting the percentages, and it's more a question of, is there going to come a time when he gets hurt doing what he's done best so far for this team, scrambling around and making something out of nothing.
Okay, in a couple sentences, guys, preview what you're writing for our readers for Saturday's editions of the Oklahoman. Kyle and Jenny first, then Jason and Barry.
Take it, Kyle.
All right, I will. Well, this was really the first time we've seen Mason Rudolph with such a shaky performance since he's been in an OSU uniform. And it's interesting because here's a guy whose first, few games at OSU last season were huge successes. He becomes the face of the program. The year before, as a senior in high school, he goes undefeated and wins the state title. The year before that, they're not undefeated, but they reach the state title game where they lose. So we're talking about a guy who hasn't really faced this type of adversity since maybe he was a sophomore in high school. So how do you respond from that? How do you come back? What experiences do you lean on? I was able to talk to J.W. Walsh after our initial media day, and he said the first thing he remembered was that West Virginia game that he had in 2013. So it'll be interesting to dive into his experiences in that game, being a young quarterback, and also comparing Rudolph's first 7 games to other notable OSU QBs who've played 7 games. Hey, and I'm sorry if that was more than a sentence. I just realized I went way over my limit there.
Maybe 12. Jenny.
I'll try to keep it shorter. I'm writing about Ben Grogan and the adventure that is. If we've learned one thing about Ben Grogan and his 2+ years as a kicker, it's that the warning flag can never go below half-mast. He goes from great highs to yips in a matter of moments. So you never quite know what to expect with Ben Grogan. Coming off one of the highs, we'll see how he does on Saturday.
Good. Nice and brief. Jason.
Sorry. Anyway, okay. Can you guys still hear me okay? I thought I lost you for a second.
No, we're there.
Okay, all right. I'm writing about Lincoln Riley's relationship with Dana Holgorsen. It goes way back to when Lincoln Riley was a student assistant coach at Texas Tech, and Dana Holgorsen was a full-time assistant there. They became close. Dana Holgorsen became a mentor to him, and they were so close that Lincoln Riley's then girlfriend, now wife, babysat Dana's kids a lot. So that's sort of a general abridged version. I'll try not to go as long as Kyle.
Ouch. Barry.
I'm writing about putting the brakes on Baker Mayfield. I think he's been excellent through 3 games. He's been inspirational even. However, this time last year, Sooner fans thought Trevor Knight was a Heisman candidate. Katy Perry was asking him out on national television. It was all fabulous, and then the walls came tumbling down. So I'm not saying they're going to come down on Baker Mayfield. I'm just saying 3 games into September does not a season make. So let's all jump aboard the Baker Mayfield bandwagon with a little bit of trepidation.
Or take a look at whose curse is stronger, the Katy Perry curse or the Taylor Swift curse. It's well documented. If her concert comes to your town, your ball club is going to swoon. Okay, guys, last trip around the block, lightning round. Quick questions. Start with you, Barry. Barry, true or false? Gundy knew exactly what he was doing down the stretch in Austin last week.
No, I don't think he knew what he was doing. I don't think he knew what he did. In fact, after the game, he actually admitted that he was a little bit more conservative than he thought. So, to me, it's a much more alarming if he did know what he was doing, because what he was doing was trying to protect a deficit, and that does not seem a good plan. When you're down 3 and you just want to play field position and punt, and you're down 3 in the fourth quarter, that does not seem like a solid plan.
Let's run clock and get out of here with a loss. Is that what you're saying?
I mean, there's 128 degrees on the floor, according to the people there. I'm going to attribute it to some heat stroke.
Oh, man. Okay, Jenny, true or false? It's time to stop whining about 11 a.m. kickoffs.
Oh, heck no. What are people going to complain about if they don't have kickoffs to complain about, or TV announcers to complain about, or us to complain about? Nah, people are going to keep complaining about it. I think it's going to be a way of life in the Big 12. They signed up for big dollars from the TV networks, and they signed up with a TV network that has the baseball playoffs at night. They have to schedule around that. They have an 11 o'clock window that they see as prime. So they know what they signed up for. Now, is that going to keep people from whining? Probably not.
Kyle, true or false? Film study assignments to critique OSU's play calling is cruel and unusual punishment.
Well, I won't say cruel, even though those assignments, it's not the most exciting thing to do. I still love my job, so I won't call it cruel. Unusual, yeah, it's weird. This offense does not look like we thought it was going to look like. Right when my nightmares of watching Dax Garman quarterback the Cowboys have subsided, all of a sudden we're watching run punt again. So not what I expected going into the season. Same with OSU fans. Maybe we'll see something a little different on Saturday, but I wouldn't throw a whole ton of money on it. So,
finally, Jason, this is file this in the non-buster category.
Do you want me to go get him?
Wait a minute, I could make this a buster. Jason, have you purchased an alternative OU jersey or any alternative uniforms for Buster, or have alternate uniforms, whatever you want to call them, have they jumped the shark? Are they a fad?
Our alternative. Well, let's see. First, no. The only jersey Buster has is a Packers home jersey.
There's a team that doesn't do alternate jerseys.
That's not true. They have throwbacks, the blue and yellow ones.
Oh.
Which if they made dog jerseys for those, I'd probably buy one for Buster.
That's who needs to be wearing those jerseys. A dog.
But anyway, are they a fat? I mean, yeah, I think so. But I mean, recruits seem to like them, and I think OU sort of and Bob Stoops sort of acquiesced to that idea. That Bob Stoops was never crazy about it, but he realized he had to do it. Uniforms that they've been wearing the last year or so, these alternates. But I mean, that's just my opinion. I think OU, like Notre Dame, Texas, Alabama, Michigan has a classic college football uniform, and I don't really like to see those messed with, but that's just me.
Okay, guys, finally, just show me your thumbs up. Thunder orange uniforms or sunset uniforms. Barry, thumbs up or thumbs down?
Thumbs down. I wish they were burnt orange Maybe that would keep Kevin Durant in town.
Oh, boy.
Jenny, thumbs up or thumbs down?
Up. I love them. I love the OKC across the front, too. That makes it even better.
Kyle, thumbs up or down?
I'll go thumbs up. I don't get rowdy either direction, but just, hey, go team, huh?
Jason.
Two
Sunset.
thumbs down.
Oh, come on.
Why?
I like the Thunder's uniforms. They're home and away. I don't think they need to mess with them.
Wait a second. If this means they're not going to wear the Cassidy blue jersey, are you at least going to give half a thumbs up for that?
Oh, I don't like that either. But I don't like that either. So if I had to choose one or the other, I guess I like the new ones better than those.
Okay.
I didn't like those at all.
Which is proof that anything will eventually grow on you. That's all for this edition of Football Fridays, but you can stay with the best coverage team any day at News OK and every morning in the Oklahoman. Enjoy the games.